Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome yet again to another episode of Lunch Guide. As usual, I'm your host Chef Andy, and today I have something worth your while. I've got something really interesting and simple. We're going to be taking you all the way to the streets of Cape Town, where I'm going to be showing you how to make a chicken curry Malay style. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the ingredients in front of me today. So from the front, I've got some beautiful garam masala, I've got some red pepper paste, some mustard there, some tomato paste. I've got some fennel seeds as well, some cayenne pepper, some beautiful seeded green chilies, some peeled ginger there, some peeled garlic, and some coconut oil there. I also have some red onions. I've got some beautiful basmati rice there, some halved tomatoes. I also have some coconut milk, some beautiful chicken thighs have just been cut up. I've got a nice tomato puree here. I've got some turmeric powder. I've got some brown sugar. I've got some bay leaf, some salt, and I've also got some star anise seed, some cumin seeds, some cloves, and some cinnamon sticks. So without further ado, we are going to jump into a short commercial break. Do take this chance to grab your pens and papers, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to turn these beautiful ingredients into a lovely curry. See you after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those who are just joining us, we are just about to start a beautiful curry, a beautiful recipe that I learned in the streets of Cape Town way back when. The beautiful background of the dish is the fact that it's got a lot of inspiration, and there's literally plenty of modifications that have been done in the past. This particular one was one of the best ones that I learned, and I want to share it with all of you today. Right. So we're just going to get our nice, beautiful pot here going. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be playing around with some beautiful infusions that I've learned over time. I'm looking also to try and show you some beautiful different techniques you can improvise when you're trying to make a simple chicken curry. Remember, most of the ingredients are all available in your regular outlets, your Nakumats, your Chumis. But if you do have a reason why you shouldn't actually be using this, or maybe because of health reasons you're not allowed to, I will actually continue explaining through the process. Two things to remember when making a curry. Remember, it's not about making it hot, it's about giving it flavor. So as you can see, the chilies that we're going to be working with have already been deseeded. So this is not going to be hot, it's just going to be aromatic, it's going to be tasty. And actually, you're going to be able to see it at the end. So while our pan is going, I'm just going to start off with my dry ingredients. So remember, I'm using some star anise seed, I'm using a bit of cloves, a bit of cumin, and a bit of sesame sticks. And then to that, I'm going to add some raw ginger there. I'm going to add my garlic also to my pestle. So remember, I'm just basically going to break all this down in the mortar. This just basically allows me to combine more flavors at once. To that, I'm going to add some fennel seeds, some cayenne pepper there, and of course my garam masala. Maybe a little more cardamom pods there. And just to give our mortar a bit of grip, remember it's not very easy to mash all these dry ingredients together. You do need something to give you that bit of a grip. I'm going to be using about a teaspoon of salt. And always just keep in mind that if you're going to be adding salt to your pestle and mortar, remember not to forget it when you're adding salt to your dish, because you might overpower it. So I recommend taste the dish before you salt it the second time. Right, so to the mortar there, we're just going to start by breaking up everything in here. So basically what you're looking for, it might not be able to break into a pure paste, but if you can be able to infuse as much flavors in your mortar before that goes into your pan, it does give you that extra advantage. So I'm just going to break everything in here. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't have a pestle and mortar, or if you're looking for a quicker way to do this, you can always throw it in your food processor if you have one. And if you do so, you'd probably have to incorporate your tomatoes, because then you'd have a more consistent paste, and it would actually just be much quicker to do it in the pan. But the reason why I'm showing it to you this way is because I basically want to show you how to get all your flavors incorporated right from the beginning. Remember, there's much more to a curry. It's not about just rushing it and making it hot and spicy and sweet. It's about also the technique you take it through. Because remember, all these processes add up to the end of the dish, okay? I'm just going to turn my heat up. And we're going to be generous with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Right. So to my pestle and mortar, I'm just going to add a bit of olive oil. I'm just going to turn that now into a paste. So this is basically a very similar process of how your convenience curry pastes are made. I just decided to make mine myself. Right, so if you can be able to see that, you can see it just holds texture. It's nice, it's very aromatic. The aromas coming from the pestle are really, really good. So all I'm going to do with that mixture is I'm just going to add that to my nice pan here. And all you want to do is let them just cook in that oil. Let them infuse your oil for about 4 to 5 minutes. So you're just going to continue stirring this. Always do it on low, very low heat or medium heat, just to make sure you don't burn your spices. Right, that's looking beautiful. And then we're just gonna go in with our red onions. And just constantly give that a mix as you continue. Now to the stock, to the beautiful small pot on the side here, I had some ready-made stock from earlier. So I'm just going to use that to try and cook those onions as we continue. So I'm just going to keep mixing as we go. And now I'm just going to turn the heat a little higher. Right, so remember, this part is all about building the basics of your sauce, building the flavors in your pot. And basically this always entails cooking your spices a little bit longer. You can be able to see me cough actually. So as I said, the aromas really, really come through when you actually start your curry this way. Now to that, I'm just going to add a bit of the curry paste we had, a bit of that beautiful tomato paste, and a bit of that mustard. So I'm using regular English mustard, not Dijon. You can actually use American mustard if you can be able to find some. Right, nice and simple. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this out. We're going to set this aside, and we're just going to start searing our chicken. But before we do that, we're going to jump into a short commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to build a couple of more flavors into it and how to build your curry. See you after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those who just joined us and those who are actually following the show, we were just finishing off the masala that we're going to be using for the chicken curry. So this is it. So everything that went into the pot, we just cooked it for about 4 to 5 minutes and we took it out of the pot. Now, whatever's going on in the pot now is the chicken thighs that we had that we cut up earlier. So all I did was I emptied the masala out, threw the chicken in the pot, and now it's actually frying. So this, we're basically just looking at frying it and giving it a nice, beautiful golden color. And the beauty of this stage is the chicken going in raw into the pan with all the oils and all the flavors around it. the chicken manages to get all those flavors and absorb them while it continues cooking. So we're just going to leave that browning. And on the pot on the side here, I've got some water steaming. So I'm just going to show you how to go about making your coconut rice. So for that, you're going to need a bit of some coconut cream there. I'm going to need also some bay leaves. So this is just regular bay leaves. We're also going to need some of that rice, and I'm going to be also using some of this olive oil. So I'm just going to show you a technique of rinsing rice. This I always find it easier myself. And all I do is I just pour my rice in the strainer, and all I do is use my left hand to rinse and use my right hand to pour. So the beauty of this process, it's a little faster to get your rice onto the plate, or rather into your pot. And the beauty of it is you actually waste less water pouring and washing and pouring and washing. So this works for me well because I can be able to rinse it and shake it off. And I can just continue rinsing and shaking it off continuously. For this particular rice, because this is already rice that has been pre-cleaned, I'm not going to rinse it more than once. So all I'm going to do is give it 2 to 3 rinses and just discard the extra water. And I'm just going to let the rice sit in the strainer there and just continue just dripping the excess water. Alright, so in the pan here, the chicken is nice and brown. As you can see, nice beautiful color there. So this, we're just going to lower the temperature a little bit, and all I'm going to add is that beautiful masala that we did earlier. So I'm just going to leave that cooking at low heat. I always insist, give it about a stir for about a minute, just to make sure the chicken is well incorporated with your masala. And now, just to finish this off, I'm going to be adding our coconut milk. And then I'm going to be adding our tomato puree that we had from earlier. And now all we are going to do is give this a few minutes to continue cooking down, and then I'm just going to show you how to flavor it towards the end. So I'm just going to be cooking that covered, and I'll now direct your attention to this side. So we are just going to go in with our rice. So very, very important thing, if you're going to be making your rice, always remember, have your water pre-boiled, about 2 pinches of salt. I'm also going to go in with 2 tablespoons of my coconut cream there. Right, so basically what you want to do is just give the water a bit of time, give the coconut cream a bit of time to just loosen up. So this is a particular, it's actually a very beautiful particular brand of coconut cream, because this actually comes in with the desiccated bits that they actually discard. So it's got a nice beautiful texture of the coconut fiber in it, and actually that is the best part of using this particular one. And as I said, if you can be able to find the same one, you can always just work with regular coconut milk or regular coconut cream. It will still give you the same result. All right, so to that, I'm just going to add, let's just get rid of those. To the water, I'm just going to add the bay leaves now. So I'm using about 2 whole pieces of bay leaf. And now I'm just going to add my rice. So always just make sure to give it a nice little shake. Just shake it a little bit, make sure you get all the excess water out, and that goes straight into your pot. So we're just going to get that to high heat. Remember, that's just regular basmati rice. We're going to be cooking that for about 8 to 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we're gonna just come back to our beautiful pot of curry here. So as I mentioned earlier, a Malay way of cooking is basically, it's a little much slower than the Indian technique of cooking. It incorporates a few more dishes, and that's basically the reason why this particular curry is so special. Right, so the chicken is now nice and creamy. I'm just going to bring the heat to medium. And to that, I'm just going to add just a tiny bit of turmeric for color. Remember, basically, something you need to also know about Malay cooking, it's very, very colorful. A lot of influences come in from playing with colors. So it's a very vibrant dish, very, very consistent with flavor, and very particular with color. Right, so I'm just going to mix that. And we're just going to continue cooking that down. So you'll basically be able to tell on the first stages, as soon as you incorporate your coconut cream, it is going to be a little runny, but you're just going to continue cooking that down slowly. So I'm just going to cover that for a little bit. And now I'm going to chop up some tomatoes that we're going to be adding into our curry. So I'm not going to use a lot. So these are just tomatoes that were previously chopped into half. And to that, I'm just going to be adding about 1.5 chopped tomatoes. So I'm just coarsely chopping those. Remember, this is just to give your curry a bit of a, gives it a bit of a texture. It actually gives it a bit of a thickness as well. Remember, you're not, having a curry is not always about having something that's purely runny and there's not really much to bite on. Remember, the only hardy things that you could bite into that at the moment is basically just the chicken. So the tomato actually gives it a bit of texture, and it actually gives it that beautiful gravy texture that we all look for when we're looking for a good curry. Right, so to that I'm going to add some chopped tomatoes. So very, very simple dish. To that extent, you should be able to now cook this down for about another 4 to 5 minutes. So as I always insist, just the way I did it on the show today, if you're going to be making your curry, you want to start your rice somewhere just after making your masala, because if you're planning to serve this exactly at the same time, and if you're planning for all this to get to your table at exactly the same time, this would be a nice position now to just turn down the heat on your curry and just continue stirring it. Remember, 2 things happen when you stir your food. First of all, it allows your dish to cook evenly, and it actually allows your food to cook a little faster. So I'm just going to continue mixing that. Remember, the tomatoes are going to break up eventually. They're just going to soften up. The chicken's already browned. So basically at this particular part of the dish, you're just incorporating the flavors. You're just getting the textures right. And now something that most people don't know you are actually allowed to add to your curry. I like to work with a bit of brown sugar. The beautiful thing about brown sugar is 2 things actually. It actually brings the flavor, it actually enhances the flavor of your curry, and it actually breaks that up, that extra hotness of your dish. So remember, in there we had some chilies that were seeded, and we still had some curry paste. So just a teaspoon of brown sugar or regular white sugar is my trick. And it is actually a very, very famous trick to try and make sure that your curry is a little more tastier and it's not too hot. So I'm just going to turn the temperature to medium now. I'm just going to continue mixing that as it continues. So my rice is also now almost done. So very, very simple things to be able to know about your curries. First of all, you should always try and make sure not to serve a curry that's too runny. It shouldn't be too watery, because a curry should be very much similar to your regular stews or your regular casseroles. But particularly if you're going to be serving a curry, remember, a curry is all about flavors. There's about 7 to 8 different dry spices that went in there. So a curry is always about just combining each and every one of those flavors and actually allowing your guests to be able to taste each and every one of them. Also a different option to serving this. Malay curry really goes well with a bit of salad, a bit of rice. Occasionally I would serve it with maybe some naan or some garlic chapati. Also really goes well with the dish. And of course, for those who are looking for a more hotter, a more spicier dish, you can always just chop your chilies whole, just leave the seeds in there. But of course, remember that that might not be very good to serve to kids, so you might want to be serving that to adults only. But if you're doing it the way we did it today, just remember, if you're going to be adding the chilies, they're going to be adding flavors unless you actually add the seeds, which actually make it really hot. And that's basically the curry that we're all used to tasting in most places that we eat out. Right, so my curry is just almost done. So this is, I'll be able to show you just with a spoon. So there's basically just about 3 different textures you should be looking for with a curry. So first of all, if you manage to take 1 scoop and just let the excess juices run out, you should actually be able to just get an even color right through. So a very, very good technique of knowing your Malay curry is right. You shouldn't actually be able to tell the different colors right through it. You should actually be able to see a consistent color right through. And then second of all, if you're going to be cooking your curry really quickly, you remember you're not trying to rush the process, you're trying to incorporate the flavors. Always make sure that you watch out also for key points like having your tomatoes not too juicy, or having a very, very good coconut milk that's not too watery. Otherwise, that might actually make your curry cook a little longer. Okay, so I'm just going to pull your attention to this side. Our rice is just about done, so I'm just going to use a spoon now to just break that apart slightly. And now we're just going to lower the temperature a little bit. So I personally like basmati rice. It just gives a nicer, beautiful appearance to it. I do know people have always insisted to maybe try cook with jasmine rice. Remember, your quality of rice that you decide to cook with, it's not really about what the particular rice is about. It's more of what's pocket friendly to you and what's in your preference. So I'm just using basmati rice for this particular presentation, but jasmine rice is really good, especially if you're trying to wow your guests. Very, very good technique to go. Right, our beautiful rice is now just about done. I'm just gonna cover that and allow it to steam slightly. And now we're just going to go straight into the plating of the dish. So one thing I'll remind you all about plating a curry, very, very simple techniques to doing a really good presentation for a curry. First of all, it's always good to have a nice savory accompaniment with your curry. Remember, you've got so many flavors in it, and the one thing you're looking for is to have something that just allows you to enjoy the dish but doesn't really interrupt the dish. So now I'm just going to give this a nice quick mix. So now this is done. We're just going to go straight into the plating of the dish. Right, so a nice, beautiful rice is ready. So I'm just going to switch positions here quickly. Right, so very, very easy technique. I bet most of you now can be able to do this dish on your own. As I said earlier, very, very simple technique. Something you can be able to do in a span of a little amount of time just for the lunches, especially if you're carrying lunches to work or just for your kids. And then something you also need to remember, it's always polite to take out the bigger sizes of herbs and spices that you use. Remember, it might not be very appealing to just put something on a plate that's not edible, so I always recommend, if you're going to be making your rice with some bay leaves, I always insist just take them off before you serve. Also as well, a couple of other options you could use apart from bay leaf. You could always go with some lime leaf, also a very good alternative to it. If you like your rice a little more colorful and a little more aromatic, you could always go with a bit of paprika, you could go with a bit of cayenne pepper. Still does the same good job as your bay leaf would. Right, so in this small bowl, we're just going to go in with our rice. So recommended serving for rice about 200 to 250 grams for adults, 100 to 150 grams for kids. That really just works well with the recommended nutritionist diet. Now we're just going to turn our heat off. I'm just going to give my curry a nice quick mixture. Now remember, this is basically just to make sure that you don't have any of those bits stuck to the bottom of your pot. Right, so beautiful curry there, beautiful aromas coming through. Just going to put a small portion on the side, just like that. And I would serve it just like that. Very, very simple way of serving it. Alternatives to that, you could always have a bit of a salad on the side. I would particularly recommend anything with a bit of cabbage, a bit of citrus, a bit of vinegar, just to be able to cut the heat and all that fat and richness from the coconut. So very, very simple dish. You've all be able to see how it's done. I hope you're all going to just take a chance this weekend and try it on your own, or even try it today for lunch. It's been a pleasure being with you today. You have been tuned into Brand Plus TV. You've been watching Lunch Guide. My name is Chef Andy and I've been your host. Always, always, always do leave your recommendations, leave your comments, your inquiries. We will get back to you. We do appreciate your feedback, by the way. So please remember, if you do have any questions or something that you didn't manage to understand on this particular segment of the show, do leave us a comment and we'll get back to you. So everyone, have a lovely lunch. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Until the next time, have a lovely day.